Welcome to the Visionaries podcast. This is Darryl Elliott, and I'm here with my partner, Tara T. Gregory, and we are just glad to come to you today for our first episode to just talk about what we're all here for. Hey, Tara,
Hey,
how's it going?
it is going well. Happy Tuesday to you.
Happy Tuesday to you also. I know you're having a busy day. I've been dealing with some stuff, but we want to kind of just talk about the things that matter to people who are really trying to go somewhere, and today we're just going to give a little context of who we are and what we're here for and what our life's work is and what do we look forward to in the coming future. So we're just going to kind of play around a little bit. I'm going to interview you a little bit. You can interview me a little bit, and we'll just talk about who we are. So if you are somebody though that's trying to start a business or do something in your community, do something special or great, this show is for you. This podcast is for you. We're going to bring on some great guests who are doing things around the world, talk about what they do and what makes their engine go, and help give some ideas, resources, inspiration, some encouragement to those of you out here that are trying to make it in a very, very moving economy. So the global economy is very fluid right now. So it would take a lot of work for us to figure out what we need to do in a changing society. So, Tara, I'm going to start with you. I want you to just talk about a little bit about who you are, and then I might ask you some questions as we talk. So, Tara, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell the people about who you are.
Okay, so hi everyone. I am Tara Gregory. I was born and raised here in Baltimore, Maryland, but I travel a lot. I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, which has really shaped and created me for who I am today, even in business, even in my personal life. But I am a Maryland girl. I reside here in Harford County. We're in the process of moving pretty soon. So I will be leaving Harford County. It was strictly a business move.
Right.
That's a whole nother story for a whole nother podcast. But right now I reside in Harford County in the state of Maryland.
Yeah.
And I have been in business probably for about maybe I want to say 12 years, but I think I really took it seriously and really launched out there in the deep probably about
Right.
10 years ago.
Right.
And some of you, because I know I'm not by myself, started a business. And in the middle of starting the business, we were working. How many of y'all out there had full time jobs? Because I know I did. I worked for the government
Yep.
for unemployment for 15 years. I prosecuted unemployment fraud, 1100 North Utah Street. Yes, I did.
Oh wow.
And I did that for 15 years. So I had a very good government job with benefits and a steady paycheck. I'm going
Right.
somewhere with that with a steady paycheck. So when I started my business, I was serious. It was kind of good. It was fun. It was exciting. It was new.
Yeah.
And I pushed it a little bit, but I did not look at it as my main source of income because I had a job to fall back on. So whether I made money from my business or not, I was good. How many of y'all can attest to that? I was
Right.
good. So I started my business, kept working at my job,
And the name
and
of your
make a long
and the
story
name
short,
the
I
name of
wound
your
up getting
company.
fired.
Right. And the
I
name.
wound up getting fired because they found out that I actually had a business and it was a conflict of interest. So we're not
Right.
going to get into all of that, but I had hearings after hearings and meetings after meetings and appeals after appeals, and I just decided, you know what, enough is enough. And so we parted ways, and I left. And it was at that moment. This was probably about maybe I want to say 5 years ago,
Hmm.
maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it was at that moment I had to make a decision, and I didn't even know which direction I was going to talk today. And a lot of times, you just let God lead you, because I know there's a lot of people that's dealing with this. This is the question I get asked most of the time. Tara, how did you leave your job and make six figures and build this business in 5 years?
Right.
Listen, I'm about to share some really good nuggets. So I left my job, and I had to make a decision. You
Hmm.
either sink or you swim,
Right.
because I had nothing else to fall back on. It was and I knew I had to run my business full time. I had to find a way to figure it out and generate income because I had nothing else to fall back on. So the first mindset I had to have was there is no plan B. This was it.
And
There's no
that's a
plan B.
that's a big
Hmm.
thing. That's a big thing that I really preach a lot. Is, when you have a plan B, most likely you'll be on plan C. So I mean, that's a big thing I preach about. What's the name of the company? Make sure
So the name of the
you talk
company
about.
is Ayur's Batch of Nature. So it is a natural and organic hair care company that I created myself. All the products, like I said, is natural, organic. They're infused with Indian Ayurvedic herbs, which is something that is not familiar in our culture. And if you ever see Indian men and women with that pretty black jet black hair down to their behinds, they've been using these herbs for centuries, and we just didn't know about it.
Right,
And I tell people all the time, hair is hair. So if it works for their hair, guess what? It'll work for our hair.
right,
And the foundation of the products is to treat hair loss, whether it's mild or severe. And if again, if you ever see, people in the Indian culture, they don't deal with a lot of alopecia and all of these things and conditions that's strickling people's hair, because they understand the properties that are in these herbs, not just the properties to treat hair loss, but to treat systemic conditions too, because it's not just what you put on your hair and scalp. What really makes a difference is what you take internally. So again, if you look at that culture as well as other cultures in the Chinese culture, and I can go on and on and on, they don't deal with a lot of the diseases that we deal with. One, they don't eat the food that we eat. When they move here to the United States, they maintain their culture. They're not. You don't see Indians frying chicken.
uh-oh,
They eat their turmeric because they know the benefits. They eat their food as well as other cultures because they understand wellness and health and
right,
what's
right,
not good for them. And we're the only culture where we just eat any and everything, and now we're dealing with issues and things that God never intended for us. But I tell people all the time, I go around and I teach and I talk, and I say, for every disease, for every sickness that we're going through, whether it's internal or external, for every disease, God has created something in the earth
right,
to treat, cure, or at least manage. And I know a lot of people are like, well, how do I supposed to do that? Well, that's why it's people like me, we've mastered that. And a lot of times all you have to do is just seek out those people who are dealing with holistic medicines that is not really popular in our culture, but listen, they work.
right,
They work. So
right.
the foundation again is Indian Ayurvedic herbs to treat hair loss. And yeah, Ayur is batch of nature. And Ayur is short for Ayurveda. Ayurveda, and I say batches because they are created in small batches. That's how
Right,
I started, and even now I still make them in batches, little bigger batches, but I still make them in certain sizes. I don't just do like a big tub because there's certain ingredients. It's a certain process that I follow to make sure that it comes out correctly.
right.
That all the ingredients and properties are correct, so they can be beneficial for hair and skin.
Right. So, and the thing is that you built the concept and the business off of using nature as a leveraging force to bring a benefit to the user. Is that a good way of kind of saying that? Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
that's cool. That's cool. And when you talk about that journey, right? And the thing about our pairing here is that we're very similar in two different universes. So I look forward to all the stuff we'll talk about down the road because we have similar journeys, but in two totally different places. Uh, and when you talk about having worked a job. And I think that's going to have to be another podcast because I think we need to talk about stepping out. There are a lot of people who may not be from our world in church life, but we talk about stepping out into the deep. And we both are people who have launched out into the deep and believing that we could walk on water. and we could catch fish.
Hmm.
So I'm glad to hear that, because a lot of people don't really know. Uh, they're very afraid. They're afraid about moving forward. They're afraid about uh, taking a chance and taking a step when they have bills. I mean, the reality is we have to pay bills. We have gas, electric bills. We have mortgages and rent, and it's a
Hmm.
very unforgiving society. We're
Absolutely.
worried about our credit score. So there's some real life implications to failure in business that a lot of people are concerned about. Tell me a little bit about how that works in your family balance, because your mom, your wife,
That's a whole
you
nother podcast.
and right, and you also are you're a speaker, you do things in church, and you also hit another group, right? So this is about our dual work in community as well. So tell a little bit about your background with some of the other things that I just mentioned, your other group and
Okay,
things like
yeah.
that.
So there is a group that we have. It's called Buy Black Networking Baltimore. Again, that's Buy Black Networking Baltimore. And like I said earlier, I'm one that travels. That's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day. How you just have to get out of your country, get out of your city, get out of your state, because there is a class of people. There are generations and customers and clients that need you outside of home, because home can not, I'm just being honest. Sometimes home is the hardest place to build and grow.
Well, the
They
Bible
talk about
says
how
that.
Jesus was not even welcome in his own hometown.
Yeah.
And I found that to be true. I would say probably about 80% of my business is not in Maryland. And yes, I do travel a lot. I primarily have an e-commerce business. But what I learned, and let me just sidebar for a second, what I learned in building a full-time business and staying out here and not having a plan B is
Yeah.
that you have to have multiple streams of income.
Hmm.
You have to. So some of those streams of income were generated because I left my state, I left my city, and
Right.
started building and branching out with other people. That's what I did. So one of those places that I really call my second home uh, is New York. My third home is Atlanta. I
That's
love
my
New York. I'm
that's my
probably there
second
about four or
home.
five times a month. Half the time, people don't even know it. Unless I'm doing
Yep.
an event or something, I'll put it up there. But I connected with a group of people out there. I saw an event. I didn't even know them, and I reached
Yep.
out to them and I said, "Hey, my name is Tara. Da, 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 da. You're having this event. I would just love to come through." And they're like, "What?" And so I did. I showed up.
Yeah.
I called and said, "Hey, I'm on
Right.
my way." They were like, "You're really coming?" "Yes, I am." And to make a long story short, I just saw how everything just flowed as far as the event and how they just networked. Like they came with a purpose. It wasn't about how big your business was, how small, where you come from, whether you full time, part time, whether you're a paparazzi or you own a multi-million dollar business. It didn't matter. They actually supported one another. Shoot, I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
And so it was really, really, really amazing. So I went to New York and I connected with these people, and they had what is called Buy Black Networking New York. And I told them, some of the issues that we face here in Maryland,
Right.
which was the fact that we just don't connect, Pastor Darryl. We're such an island by ourselves, and when one go, we don't know how to support one another, build one another, network with one another. And I told them, this is what we're dealing with, and I would love to create and launch what they were doing in New York. And because they're so wonderful and they're just that kind of city, they were like, you know what, we'll help you.
I love
And
New
they
York.
helped me to put together what they were doing, and I was in charge of it. I said, this is what we need to do, the
Yep.
whole nine. And I launched it, and we're now, I believe, 75,000 members strong. It was
Yep.
just for Baltimore, but now we don't open it up to so many other people. And pretty much it is a Facebook group, Bob Black Networking Baltimore.
Yep.
And I came from the premise, because we're so divided, Pastor Darrell. I wanted to have a platform where no matter what you need, what you have going on, you should be able to go to one centralized location and find what you need in the house. I don't
Right.
care if you need a painter, you need a preacher, you need a singer, you need a nonprofit, you need a church home, you need a daycare, you need funds because you're running for president, you need a congressman. It doesn't matter. You need an event space, you need a photographer, you need a plumber, you need a mechanic, all black owned. It doesn't matter. You need a crab place, a nail
Yep.
tech, a black hair salon. No
Yep.
matter what you need, you should be able to find it in the house. And guess what? That concept worked.
Yep.
And it was twofold. It was to put all the black businesses that wanted to be in this group together in one central location, free of
Right.
charge.
Right.
And second of all, what it did was it forced pretty much people to now network, support, purchase, push, and build one another.
Right.
Because when you go to this group and you find what you need and you purchase their product or their services, we circulate our dollars. You push them, you build them, you promote them. And that's what it's all about, is
Absolutely.
really becoming that Black Wall Street. And if we have to start with a Black Facebook group, then so be it. We
Right.
have to
Right.
start with Facebook in order to do that. And then when I decided, you know what, let's take the group out of the group and let's do this in real life. So about maybe 2 years ago, I talked to the Palladium and we launched Bob Black Networking, the event. So those same people that people can go to
Yeah.
and ask for their businesses and support or whatever, they were now in the room. Like literally, I think I had
Yes.
over maybe 300 Black owned businesses. And
Yes.
we had close to 1,000 people come through that Palladium in a 4 hour period. The
Yep.
mayor was there, the news was there, everyone was there,
Yep.
because it's nice to know that you connected with a Black salon or a barbershop or a politician or
Yep.
whoever it was, and to be able to show up at the Palladium and say, hey, it is so great to meet you in person. I just want to say just what a great job you did. Can we just take a selfie so I can just promote you in
Yeah.
person? It was amazing. It was
Now,
absolutely amazing.
now,
And that group again is Bob Black Networking Baltimore.
absolutely. And now, the funny thing is that as you talk, the passion comes through. As you speak about the vision, as you speak about the work, the passion comes forward, and that's what a lot of people are dealing with, is being able to get a passion for the things they do. And the funny thing is that sometimes the work can find you as well. But I, I'm going to ask you to flip the script here. So we'll switch up here. I'm going to let
Mhm.
you, you know, your turn, and I'll answer whatever questions you need me to answer.
Okay, I would love to know, and I'm not just me, but I'm pretty sure the viewers would love to know, Pastor Darryl, you know, because you're so passionate about so many different things when it comes to ministry, when it comes to business, when it comes to just networking and, just pulling people and pulling things together. You're just really, really good with that. So I just kind of like just want to know, and I'm pretty sure the listeners and viewers probably want to know as well, when it comes to pulling people together and pulling businesses together in Baltimore, and just even with the podcast and just all these, and then you're international. He's international, y'all. He the real deal. Even international. What is the hardest struggle that you have found to be the most challenging when it comes to just pulling things together and connecting the dots for a common purpose or a common vision that you are about to launch?
Well, before I get into that, I can give a little context to that question.
Yes.
Because before I did any of this, I come from the music world,
Okay, let's talk about that.
and my background is I was first a concert pianist, and then I became a conductor. So when you conduct, you have to be able to translate music. You have to be able to understand how people have to play their instrument. You have to be able to read multiple lines of music at one time. Then you have to be able to communicate an idea to bring it together into a blended sound. So I would say that background it was very helpful in what I do because I ultimately became a producer. And as a producer, you have to do the same thing as a conductor, which is the same thing you have to do as a CEO, is the same thing you have to do as a pastor. So when you say the hardest challenge is to be able to speak everybody's language.
That's
You
good.
have you have to learn how to speak everybody's language to understand, and also, as far as I'm concerned, maybe not every leader does this, but I believe that you have to have a good empathy bone. You have to have a good ability to empathize with people and what they're going through because there's always a story behind the execution. So it takes it takes a lot to make anything work, and usually there's a struggle to be able to get to the finish line for anybody who does anything. So there's never always an easy story. There's never always an easy journey for greatness. And if you want to be great, you have to be willing to endure pain, and you have to have a threshold, a good threshold for pain tolerance, and or the next thing is to have the ability to focus. So my son the other day was playing soccer. He actually came off of a broken leg last year, and then at the end of the year, which was not soccer related, but he rehabbed that. He played into the next season, and then this first week, he got kicked in his foot, and he was in pain. He didn't want to go back into the to add insult to injury. He was subbing on another team. They actually traded him for a week, and he was not happy. He could not be with his boys. With his bunch, and he was not happy. I had to go over to the sideline with him, and I had to explain to him, one, you have to be able to play hurt, and I said, now don't play injured. If you're injured, don't play. But if you're hurt, you have to learn how to go through the pain,
Yes.
and then on top of that, you must understand you will not always be convenienced. But know this: somebody wanted you, and you had to. You're on this other team for this week because they felt, and the coach came over. I traded you because you're a good leader, and you would have helped that team. And that's what I say in terms of bringing things together is to understand people's languages and understand what they're going through. Get a chance to know somebody and their story, so that you can be able to understand how to push, like we say in sports. I have a big sports background. uh, how to push the right buttons, um, and sometimes you have to be willing to make friction with people. I mean, as far as for me, I'm a confrontational person, so I've learned to balance my confrontational nature with my empathetic nature, and because not all things are easy accommodating, but once you understand someone, you should understand what is the give and take in relationship, because the common purpose is bigger than all of us, no matter who it is.
Absolutely.
And even though I'm the visionary, I am not bigger than the vision. So that's what I would say
Hmm.
is a key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have one more question for you, Pastor Darrell, for our listeners and for our viewers. Can you just tell us a little bit about your business? What is it that you do? What is the foundation? What was your passion and your motivation behind even starting your company or companies?
Sure.
Would love to
Yes.
hear that.
Companies. Yes, it is companies now. It's over 30 years in the making. I am the CEO of Diadem Technologies and Diadem Enterprises. I happen to be the proprietor of this establishment of Believe Broadcasting. But that's definitely a story, because I came out of the music business, because I actually had given my life to the Lord. And because I gave my life to the Lord, and because I was in the music world from a young age, I mean, I had my first job at 11. I had my endorsements at a young age. I had already traveled the world. I had already played with everybody, produced with a lot of people, fully connected to the record labels and everybody. But then it's a conflict of interest when you give yourself to God. Some crazy things happen to your life
Talk, sir.
because the celebrity lifestyle is not one that's necessarily in agreement with the Christian lifestyle. That's all.
Absolutely.
I believe it
Absolutely.
there. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, they say. But what I will say is that with that I had to make a life decision. My friends, my family, I had a lot of people thought I had completely lost my mind because I left the music business, all the money that I was making, and I made a lot of money before the age of 20. And I am talking about God. I want everybody to go to heaven, and I must give I think all the people that have given support, but two people I do want to mention is that it was my father and my oldest brother, who actually ended up working for me. Uh,
Wow.
but they were my greatest encouragers. My dad, who did not go to church really, but I had a chance to pray with him and lead him to the Lord before he went to be with the Lord. And he said, if he believes God is telling him, and it's funny, the person that goes to church is the one that gets it, right? He
Yep.
said, if he thinks God is telling him, you can't argue with that. That was his
Absolutely.
whole premise. And then one day he said, I believe Daryl's going to be the first multi millionaire in his family. So just those words were enough fuel for me
Hmm.
for the rest of my existence. But what I do is I come from the first the finance world, and first within the financial planning world, the investment world, Wall Street, and all that good stuff. Started started by making 500 phone calls every single day. I'd get on
Wow.
the
That's
phone
impressive.
in the cubicle with the other guys. If you ever seen some of those shows with the guys on the phone just dialing for dollars, we call it.
Yes.
Trust
That
me,
was
it's
you.
it's real. Yes. I was able to make little waves in that world, in estate planning. But then I became a partner in an electronic banking firm. So when Visa, Mastercard, and debit cards, ATM cards started to take off in the early '90s, I was one of the kids that was there in the beginning or in that part of it. My mentor is the direct descendant of the guy who created the credit card machine. So I have some good background and good roots and good training. I've always had that great opportunity of having good mentors.
Hmm.
So out of that, we became very successful. We became one of the largest firms in the country. Doing that, we were doing work with big retailers and people of that nature. And then out of that, we of course, took our money and went home for a little while, and then I came out of retirement. I was a consultant for a while, then I came out of retirement. Now I started my company called Diadem Technologies and then Diadem Enterprises. Diadem comes from the term of crown. It anybody who ever knows that term. It's a type of crown with all of the diamonds that spike upward, and from that we moved not only into what we call payments and electronic banking, but we also manufacture our own hardware. We develop our own software. We are partners with all of the largest banks in the world. We actually can process payments globally with all the different banks around the world. So it's certainly been a journey, and maybe we'll have separate podcasts about our struggles.
Yes. We need to talk
Okay,
about the journeys.
we'll
Yes.
we'll talk about
Because
because
I hear you, and I'm just trying to process, like manufacture for
yeah,
what?
yeah,
Did
we
he say
make it
around the world? Did he say for some of the
right.
most leading banks? Like
We do not. Yeah,
what
we do
did that
not.
process look like? So yeah, one day we have to sit down and just talk about processes.
Yes, we do
Because
not.
I am
Yeah.
really intrigued. If I'm intrigued, I know our viewers and listeners are on what that process looked like for you, from the time you started to here. Because you know what the biggest challenge I found too, Pastor Darrell, and I don't mean to
Yes.
cut you off, is
No.
that people want to know because you start with nothing. Even though you come
Right.
from a music background, even before you were 11, you started with nothing. And then,
Yes.
for God to lead you down different paths. And you take that little bit and you say, you know what, Lord, I'm going to launch with what you gave me.
Yes.
And then people see where you launch into these retail stores and you launch with these big banks. And it's like, how did you break through those doors? How did you break through those barriers? How did you get major banks to believe in your vision? And a lot of times that's what people are looking for, because they're like, you know what, that's a wonderful, cute story. Happy for you.
Yeah.
But until you are transparent and
Yes.
you'll walk to get there,
Yes.
we still leave people in the dust.
Yes. A lot of pain. It's a lot of pain
And we go
involved.
through those so we can now go back and share our experience to help those avoid those pitfalls and
Yes.
guide them through what we came through.
Yes.
So having that podcast, yeah, I think that's critical.
Yes. Yes. Because here's the thing: is that it's always easy to hear the end point. It's always easy to hear this part of the story, but we don't understand that it's an ongoing story. And I like a term we say all the time: you have to be able to update your resume. So just because we did
I like
this,
that. Say that one more time.
update your resume, girl. You got to update it.
And you know what mine is?
What?
Here is never enough.
It's not. It's not.
That's mine.
I don't
And
do
when we have
comfortable.
those kind of mindsets, we never settle for where we are.
No.
There's
No.
always more. There's always a next place. Here
That's a
is
no
never
no.
enough. I love yours. I love
That
it.
that's a no no in my world. Is that for me, and I talk about this all the time because remember it comes from my music background. I would have to play Beethoven, I would have to play Bach, and then later on I'd have to go play Miles Davis and Thelonious Monk, and I would have to master all these different types of music. Well, I said this all the time. After I got it under, I use the term got it under my fingers. After I got it under my fingers, I put that in a stack, and then I got to start all over again with another piece of music. And it's a very, very tedious process. I used to practice 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very patient with yourself and your process because you're going to constantly make mistakes until you
Constantly.
reach until you reach
I hope y'all
perfection
heard that out there. Because if
all the
someone had
time.
told me this 10 years ago,
Yes, yes.
I would have saved a lot of tears, a lot of agony, and a lot of just, how we just beat ourselves up and we just
Right,
throw ourselves in the pity party,
right.
because we have to make mistakes. Somebody needs to know
Yes,
that. You have
yes,
to make mistakes. How
yes,
else will you learn? Because you learn from them. You don't die from them, you learn from them. And you move
yes,
on. And you
yes.
take what you learn from that to now do better, be better, grow better. I like
And
that, Pastor Darryl.
you know what? I teach my kids how to skate. Taught them how to skate. And the one thing I told them to avoid major injury, learn how to fall. And I told them it is inevitable that you're going to fall, but you learn how to fall so you can easily get back up and keep
Oh
on going.
Lord, I'm about to dance in here.
Okay. and and part of what I do, because one of my jobs in every firm I've been a part of, and I've I kind of skipped a part of my story, but I've been a COO as well as a CEO. And because I was the COO handling operations, I always dealt with compliance, and I became an expert in compliance. And I always said, "Hey, these are the pitfalls of what we're about to do."
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying we don't do it, but I'm going to let you know that we may come up against this and it may push us back a little bit. But if we know how to recover in that process, we're going to be golden and we're going to move forward. So
I love it.
I'm not afraid of moving forward because of an impending resistance or maybe even potential disaster. But am I equipped to be able to recover is what's important. And I think a lot of people are not equipped for falling. They're not
And you know
equipped.
what, Pastor Darrell? The
Mhm.
pandemic showed us that.
Yes, it did.
Those who fell by the wayside, and then those of us who are still yet holding on.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, here's the thing. I started my company and still run my company with no investors and no partners. And what I do really requires you to be a publicly traded company. But I if I made $1, I invested 90 cents. So I kept on reinvesting to the point that I could, and of course it has not all been lovely roses, and we can talk about that later.
We'll talk about.
But yes,
We're gonna help
learning
y'all
how,
out there. I promise you.
yeah,
Just hang on it. Stay
learning
tuned.
how to
Come back. We
operate
we
broke.
we we fitting to help you.
Yeah, learning how to operate broke. How about talk about operating with nothing? You know,
Listen.
running a business with nothing.
How about running a business, lights off, car gone? See, oh my Lord, I thank you. A lot of times people look at your success
Yes,
and they don't understand that success comes with a cost,
a high
and how
cost.
much you have to lose, and what you have to sacrifice, and what you have to let go, and what has to be snatched away, and what you have to do without in order to sacrifice, in order to be successful. Because
Yes,
when it comes to purpose, nothing can come before purpose.
right,
Not a bill, not a person, nothing can come before. I will let it all go, God, for the sake of purpose.
right. And the thing is, think about it. You and I, we are we are not foolish in our process. We're not foolish, but we are full of boldness and faith, and we are not afraid of failure.
No, not at all.
But we come from backgrounds where we know how to calculate, we know how to examine, we know how to count the cost of things, and we can understand how to throttle back if we need to.
And
But
pivot if we have to.
right, but in the grand scheme, we're not afraid to go into the fight, you know. And another podcast that we're going to do is talk about how having spouses that support that is very, very vital, you know, and being able to get through the difficulties, because I do not come from an industry where there are many people who look like us.
No,
Okay,
not at all. You
so
and I both. It's
whenever I
amazing. We're
walk,
both in an industry where there's not a lot of people who look like us. We do
yes,
not dominate,
yes,
the path that God has us on, and the businesses that we have. We do not dominate in those industries, but yet here
yes.
we are.
Right. And now the funny thing is I'm coming full circle because I'm moving back into my investor mode. So instead of in not just electronic banking, but I'm becoming more and more charged up and more fired up to help bring businesses to that level now. I'm getting more emboldened to say, okay, I know how to do this. I know where things need to happen, and who are the people to make these things happen, and the people who will support these ideas and concepts. And the thing is I believe this: you and I are the two that had to go out and take all the hits. We
Absolutely.
we are the ones that had to go. you know, people don't understand how accurate the movie Happy Feet is, as far as from a nature standpoint. I don't know if anybody remembers Happy Feet
I do.
when he slid down the hill and he fell over the cliff and he went into the water, and all of the penguins looked over to see if he was dead or alive.
Hmm.
That is actually real. You always have the penguin that goes forward, that jumps in, and they wait to see if there's blood that comes up in the
Yes.
water.
Yes.
You and I are that penguin
Yeah.
that had to jump in the water when everybody said, "Girl, you crazy,
You
man.
crazy.
I don't
And
know
and
what
they've
you're
said it.
doing."
Oh, wait a minute, Pastor Darryl. I've heard it.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
sure? You
Well,
wouldn't do that.
I ended up employing a lot of people who were my critics, and at some point, a lot of people who criticized me ended up ultimately working for me at one point or another. So competitive piano makes you tougher. You know, between piano and playing basketball and growing up in the hood, those three things make you tough. So you don't worry about what people have to say. You understand your path and you understand what you're supposed to do, and you understand the big picture of what you're supposed to do. So 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 we can leave it there. We'll talk about more later. But we look forward to being able to share a lot of this with
Yes,
a lot of
absolutely.
people out here. We're gonna bring
Absolutely.
on
It's
some.
so
We're gonna.
needed and it's so
Oh
necessary.
yeah.
And
Oh
I
yeah.
wish we had something like this, when I started. I
Yeah.
could just click on something and just get all these good nuggets that just would have just saved me some really, really restless nights.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we're not doing this for our benefit. We're doing this, for your benefit, for
Yes.
the people that's out there. It's our passion. It really is
Yes.
our passion to talk to business, help businesses and be transparent. The biggest takeaway I want people to have with this before we do depart is we're open to be transparent.
Yes, we are.
Hmm.
Yes. We're gonna talk a lot about ourselves and what we know, and we're gonna really have a lot of people come on and talk about themselves and what they've gone through, what they're dealing with. Because how are you gonna really help people if you're not really being open about
Absolutely.
what you're dealing with or what you have dealt with?
Right.
So
To tell you what I did right and what I did wrong, and how God still
absolutely,
recovered.
absolutely, absolutely,
We're going to talk
and
about.
yes, and see what's and even right now, look, this is what's going on in our lives. Just to let everybody know, Tara is in the middle of a bunch of orders she's got to get out in time, and she jumped on to do the podcast, and she's making sure that she fulfills all the things that is going on with all her clients nationwide. I'm in the middle of a technical nightmare. With regard to one of our call centers coming out of the Philippines and the fixing that along with the carriers and things like that. My whole life is always technical stuff. I'm letting you know right
Yes.
now. So
Yes. This is
you
a techie
know,
person, y'all. Yes.
yeah.
I'm more
So
hands on. I'm
yes, yes, but we're committed to coming on to talk about these things so that you can be able to you know make it in life because there's so many of you out there with a lot of potential and a lot of ability, and if nobody's here to encourage you, here we are. T-
absolutely.
Tara and Daryl are here to
Yes.
encourage you and
To
to
help you
to
walk this journey, you're not alone.
you are not alone. So Tara, thank you. I'm glad
Oh, thank you, Pastor
we
Darrell.
kicked
It was
this off.
everything. This is so much fun.
Yes,
I'm just looking so forward to what's coming, in the spring and the summer, all the information that we're going to be sharing. I mean, the
yes,
sky is the limit. So
yes,
what we can just discuss and pour and help, not just the people, but even, ourselves. Because even as I
yes,
was talking and I said to myself, wow, I didn't even think about that.
yes,
It's helping all of us,
yes,
when you
yes,
just talk things out and you look at how far you've come and
yes,
what you really had to overcome. Sometimes it blows, my mind, to be honest, but
yes,
it's good to come out of the workspace
yes,
and just talk and reflect and share. Pastor Darrell, you said it, we're so busy. I don't
yes.
always have time to think about where I came from. I'm always in work mode,
Right.
moving forward, getting it done. I got to be here, there, everywhere. Where I don't sit down and process what I just came out of or how I got here.
Yes.
But when we sit down and do that, it's really amazing that only the hand of God could have done this. And in
Absolutely.
all of our moving and shaking, it's like even in this moment, Lord, I thank you for getting us to this place. You know,
Right. Right.
to allowing this podcast to just give us time to reflect
Yes.
that, what, Lord, while we're doing all this running, you've set us down for a minute to just see the big picture and to see that you've been the center of it all. Thank you, Jesus.
And see, think about this. As we speak, there are banks that are failing, and we're still here.
And we're,
so
I
so
know there's
you know,
companies, Pastor, there are companies that I looked up to. They were my role models in my industry. Like I would Google them and be like, oh my God, I want to be like her. Oh my God, she's had products all in Europe. And and they don't even exist anymore. They could
Gone,
not survive. And
gone.
God showed me clearly, this is a season for the underdogs.
Yes,
This is they had their season. It's now you're the ones that have sown, and we pushed and we worked and we sacrificed for 5, 10, 15 years. Is now our season.
yes, yes. But
It's
guess
now
what?
our season.
Guess what's going to happen? And
We sold for it.
yes, I'm telling you this now though. What's going to happen is that we're going to find ourselves, really making revolutionary moves in from banking, finance to commerce, beauty, fashion, and I come from entertainment, so I'm cool from coming from entertainment, but for so long we need to move beyond entertainment. We have to get into ownership and into and being able to have
That's what this
control.
podcast is for.
Yeah,
Yes.
to have
Yes. We can do
control over what
more
we
y'all
make.
than throw a ball.
Yes, we can do more than throw a ball. And and this is not a black centric podcast,
It's not. It
but
really isn't.
because I know a lot of marginalized white people, that are out here because see, it's not always, and I try to tell people this all the time, it's not about race. A lot of times it's about class. If you're not from said group, you can't get in.
That's the
Also,
truth. I found that to be true. I found that to be
yes,
in my travels, getting
yes.
out of Baltimore and traveling to DC, Detroit, Chicago, LA. I noticed that it really didn't matter if I was black. What mattered was my circle.
There you go. And see,
My
that's what we
circle
gotta teach
opened
people.
doors that I could not open up. My circle got me in places. And then when I got into those doors, it was people who looked like me. So
Yes,
it's not about the color, because when you go through those doors, you're going to see a vast amount of culture, and it's about the class. Do you
it
belong
is
here?
about class. It is about class.
Do you
And
belong here?
do you belong here? Because I've played for presidents. I've played for I've been in all kinds of circles. And there is a scripture that talks about when you walk into the room, someone will say, "Do you come up higher?" And there's a thing that you must understand is that there it it cannot matter who you are if you're the right person, and honestly, if God's hands on you, there's nothing that's going to stop you from moving forward. And you have to be willing to go through the process and go through the
Absolutely.
journey. Yes. So Tara, I know you have to get ready to go. I have to get ready to go. We got this now. We got this. So
Yes.
so so
Yes.
we thank everybody for watching. We're going to
Absolutely.
share with you how you can ask us questions. There will be sometimes where we may go live. We'll be on all different streaming platforms. So we want you to be on the lookout. Also, we have some other shows on Believe Broadcasting with some amazing other experts and leaders and up and coming talent that you can also search on BelieveBroadcasting.com, which is now launching. So we look forward to you all being able to connect. Uh, Tara, what is your handle? Are you on Twitter, Facebook? What do you prefer?
Ayer's Batch of Nature, at Ayer's Batch of Nature for IG and Facebook, Pinterest, all of that. LinkedIn, which I need to get on more, but that's another story.
Hmm.
And I also have a personal Facebook page, Tara
Okay,
T. Gregory. That's my personal Facebook page, and also Ayer's Batch of Nature business Facebook page. But Instagram is Ayer's Batch of Nature. Yes, and
cool.
you'll find everything. Me, the products, businesses, everything.
Absolutely. And you can get me at Diadem Technologies, Diadem Techno on Twitter, and you can also find me at Diadem Business or Pastor Darryl Elliott one, I believe, on IG. So and Pastor Darryl Elliott on Facebook. So we'll be sharing more of that information, and you can connect with us. And we hope that we can be a help to you all. And We look forward to talking to you the next time. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.